Hello.
Yesterday you said Fred would be a game-time decision. This morning he's ruled out. Did anything change between when you talked to us at practice?
Just after practice, talking to him, talking to medical staff, he wasn't 100% comfortable. I think he's maybe in the 80 range, but scrimmaged a little bit and didn't quite feel confident. So.
Would you want him? You said he sat out some parts of practice. Would you want him to be back at full participation before he actually comes back for a game?
I mean, that was a realist practice we had, and I don't know if we'll do anything else like that throughout the year, but he needs to have some contact and get some up and down scrimmaging, and that's where he felt a little limited. So he's got the work in, did it quite a bit over the break, but that's different than getting out there and playing, and when he did, he didn't feel quite confident enough. So I guess after these 2 games, we'll have 2 days and might get a decent practice in again before Milwaukee, San Antonio, and we'll see how he feels then.
I think prior to the break, you talked about the need to evaluate things that you saw trends during the first half of the year. Can you share any of those things that you evaluated and how to correct some of those things going forward?
Yeah, finishing games is the biggest thing for us. I think, you look at Minnesota specifically, the 2 games we've lost, obviously a meltdown in the game here, 16-point lead late, and then a 6-point lead going into the fourth quarter at their place. And so that's been a theme of ours that we tried to clean up, and that'll be a big thing for us. I feel our starts have been better lately. And just overall getting back to what we did early, which was being the aggressor, kind of putting teams back on their heels. Injuries played a part in that, but as I always talk about, depth is enough to sustain those, and we've had chances to win a lot of those games that we lost in this little stretch here. So getting our swagger back, confidence back, being in attack mode, and we took a look at what we did really well early on and saw some of that dissipate with the lack of practice time and injuries.
Are you able to share your starting lineup for tonight?
Tari instead of Fred.
So Jabari is off the bench.
Yeah.
Is he easy to work back in when you consider that he's not somebody who needs to have the ball in his hands a lot?
Jabari? I mean, I think I wouldn't say it's that specifically. I think he's easy because he checks a lot of boxes and we can put him in a lot of places. As always, started at the 4, but played up and down, 3-5 sometimes, and so you can put him in a lot of areas. And I think, the fact that he's not a handler initiator for us, I don't think it's much different. Fred will be pretty easy to implement back in there when we get him back. So I think overall just his skill set and what he brings to the table, the rim protection, the rebounding, and some of the things that have dropped off with him being out will be a welcome sight to have back, and so easy to slot him back in there.
Was that decision to bring him off the bench kind of based on his conditioning, or what were the factors?
No, not conditioning. He had a hand injury, so he got plenty of work in as far as that. More so, with limited guys in back-to-backs, Tari and Steven possibly for tomorrow. Obviously Tari, but we'll see about Steven. And Tari coming off some really good games and getting him to the minutes where we want him to be. So take advantage of that tonight, start him when possible tonight, for example. But no, it's just a little bit of everything. I think easing him back into it a little bit, not really conditioning-wise, but we'll see how he looks in this game, and then everything's kind of open moving forward.
There's been a little bit of defensive slippage since the calendar turned to 2025, which kind of coincides with the time that Jabari has missed. There have been other guys in and out of the lineup since then, but have you really learned anything or become more aware of just how important he is to the fabric of this team, especially on the defensive end, in that time without him?
Yeah, it's weird how things are affected. I think last year to end the season when Alpi went out and he was at the 5, the biggest thing and what happened again was our rebounding is slid, our defensive rebounding, and so having his length around the basket and you would assume I'm in being a really good defender. Obviously the numbers might go up, but we're using guys in different ways now, and so Dylan on the 5 some, I'm in on the ball away from the basket. All those things have impacted our rebounding, and so when you have Jabari back in there in more of a natural spot, I think we're just bigger around the basket in general, and so that's really stood out. But his rim protection, the things he does really well, those things have been affected.
Kind of following up on Jabari, he does a lot of dirty work when he's out on the court. After practice yesterday, he said that he doesn't really care if he starts or comes off the bench. He just happy to be playing again. Does that kind of fit with what you've seen from him since day one, kind of being an ultimate team player?
Yeah, I think that's who he is. Not only a really good player, he's a really good person, and so he's always done what's been asked of him in different roles, and not unexpected from him. And so, as you know, with me, it's who's playing well and who is playing well is going to finish, and so I think that's really more important than anything. And if he's rolling, we'll go with him.
This might be a dumb question, but when you're coaching on the sideline and you're coaching on the defensive side specifically, and they're playing directly in front of the bench, do you feel like your voice has an impact on how well the defense is playing when you're calling out certain coverages and stuff, when the defense is being played directly in front of your bench?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm pretty loud, and you see things from our vantage point, which is the entire court. It's a little bit different from guys. And so when I see things happening, I can obviously call them out early. Not the way I'd prefer it to be. I'd prefer the guys on the court do the talking and see things and be ahead of one step ahead. But until we're there, I'll happily do my part. And so, it's easy to say, when you have a remote and you're stopping clips and showing guys, or I see it from my view. It's a little different than being on the court. And so I'll try to help out as much as I can and call out sets and plays and coverages.
Have you settled on what you want to do starting lineup-wise once everybody's healthy?
No, I think it's pretty open, and we have some good options. And so, we'll see when Fred gets back, and hopefully everybody else is good to go. But we're still mixing and matching the back-to-backs, which we have quite a few of, and so that changes things on a game-to-game basis as well.
Speaking of back-to-backs, you talk about how Tari, you all are monitoring him. At what point do you see him getting to the point where he can play in back-to-backs?
I think we have 5 left this year, 2 in the next, 4 games. And so you would like to see something possibly for the 3 down the line. But his minutes he's not on the limitation anymore, so we can play him as much as we want. And I think, like I said, it's just being smart overall. We've seen him play back-to-back early this year and how it affected him. Felt some pain and lingered a little bit, so we want to be smart as far as that. And be healthy and playing our best basketball in March and April. And so that's the plan as far as that. And if he feels really good on the second night at some point, we're happy to have him.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.